I think a bit of context is good. Before we talk about the Apple Watch Ultra, my background. I am an industrial designer. I have spent years studying Apple and their philosophies. I'm not ashamed to say that it's because of Apple that I have fallen into this field, and it's why I love it so much. I've designed everything from satellites to furniture. And you learn a lot through this process about understanding how people connect with products and what they mean and the greater depth that they have. But on the other side of the coin, the MacBook that I use is 13 years old. The phone that I use is a very basic SE. I love it. It's so simple and streamlined. It can take photos. It doesn't have 6 cameras on it. It just works and performs well. And this, I believe, epitomizes what Apple has always been about, which is streamlining, minimalism, great user experience. That's what we all want out of our products. So on the one hand, I love the efficiency. I love the simplicity around how Apple designs their products, how they create these emotive connections with the end user. At the same time, though, I don't like disposability. I hate throwaway culture. I hate products that are made to be replaced, right? I think it's just so damaging, and it's not the right way to conduct yourself, which is the reason why I spend a lot of my time talking about the design of wristwatches. Now, yes, these are expensive. They are considered luxury items. But instead of using a basic circuit board and a metal casing, these use oils and gears. These use rotors. And where technology never really ends up being relevant because it's constantly being replaced and overridden, mechanical watches have a special place in our hearts because they disconnect us from the modern world. They take us back to another time, a simpler time, where life wasn't so complicated. That in a nutshell is why I would always wear a mechanical watch over something digital. Call me a purist, yes. But when it comes to forming a connection with a product, I will never connect with a digital product as much as I will with something that has a mechanical heartbeat. I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched an Apple keynote, if that's what they still call them. It's been a very long time. But because of what my community has been asking me to do and to check out this new Apple Watch Ultra, I thought I had to. And I must say, I am so impressed by not only the marketing, which is always fantastic, the product presentation is great, but what it represents. I do love the conceptual approach around what this watch is doing, and I want to explain why. It's quite ironic because we're in an age now where a lot of mechanical watches are being advertised to the fashion-focused individual, to those who want to wear the luxury watch in different scenarios, not necessarily use them for their professional purposes. Now we are seeing this new professional-oriented Apple Watch not focusing on the fashion side, but more about it being a tool and a utility to be used. And I truly find that fascinating. The Apple Watch Ultra is bigger, beefier, built for purpose, and made to be used in all conditions. That's really its MO. So this piece is bigger, 49 millimeters in size, and I think that's measuring diagonally across the screen. It's using aerospace-grade titanium, which is a fantastic metal. Titanium in general, if you can get your hands on it, do it. Lightweight, robust, corrosion-resistant, need I say more? It's got a new Crown Guard protection system, which I find quite endearing, and definitely blends into this professional sense nicely. It has a raised bezel, which protects the, I would imagine, extra thick sapphire crystal. And I would have really preferred seeing a bevel running around the outside of the bezel, but I think on the whole it's a fascinating package, and it communicates a sense of it being a utility and a professional instrument. What I find great is that I talk about this stuff every week. I talk about this whenever we're focusing on mechanical watches. And the fact that all of this has been implemented into the new Apple Watch series, I feel like I'm talking more about a mechanical watch than I am something digital, at least on the outside. It's very clear that a product like this is going after the Garmin wearers and the many other outdoor utility watches that you can get today, as well as going after the Casio wearers. I need to emphasize that Casio G-Shocks, they're in a league of their own. But at the same time, I think the Ultra is trying to appeal to the watch enthusiast, and I mean, it's working. There's been quite a buzz about this piece. Right, let's try and unpack this watch a bit more. It's the Apple Watch on steroids. It's bigger, beefier, uses a much larger battery for increased life, as well as the fact that it implements all the extra technology that you would want in a product like this, especially when you are outdoors and exploring. You know, it's aimed at the hiker, the diver, the mountaineer, the marathon runner. And in the marketing, it's obviously focusing on the extremes. What kind of percentage of people will be doing this in their everyday lives? Not very many. And the same can be said about mechanical watches and how they're advertised to us. I mean, this is made for the French Marine Nationale, combat swimmers. I'm not a combat swimmer, but I love what this watch represents and how brilliantly the design was executed. So along with all the basic features that the standard Apple Watch has been given, I don't know what generation we're at now, like 9 or 7 or something, But along with your heart rate sensor, it has a GPS antenna, has large dual speakers, has an altimeter, a depth gauge, an inbuilt Siren, an action button that could be used to set your waypoint while you're walking, or to quickly switch to start a workout, or used as your depth gauge. It's got a series of microphones inbuilt, as well as a larger crown for ease of use when you have gloved hands, and a more tactile button that can also be used externally. Then you see the implementations of straps that they've gone with, one for Alpine, one for trails, and one for ocean. Of all the configurations, I would recommend the Alpine G-Loop. That is something that will definitely not come off your wrist. The trail strap uses a hook and loop system, which is basically Velcro, something that can be temperamental depending on the environment. And the ocean band, I would not wear that in the ocean. That's all I can say. The way that the band integrates and sits in these Zulu keepers, the best way I could describe them, doesn't look secure enough. If we had to talk about all the technical specifications, we will be here all day. As far as I know, the watch is ISO certified, which means that it can go to great depths underwater and not be affected. It has about 100 meters of water resistance. This watch is very clearly built tough with regards to its materials, straps chosen, but we must bear in mind that sapphire crystal is not indestructible, and if you hit it at the wrong angle, if you drop it, it will shatter. But the reason why the Apple Watch Ultra has gotten me interested, and the reason why I'm talking about it now, is because it is intuitive. That is at the core of what makes Apple products so great. And I think the design meshed with the interface and how the user interacts with the watch, it's brilliant. I think the way they have conducted themselves with simple spot colors, a really easy layout, and the fact that the screen can focus on all different aspects with regards to compass, altimeter, many elements that you might want, fully customizable, as well as simple things like turning the crown activates night mode, so you only get red light as a display. All of these little components, these small touches, turns this into something far more professional than I ever thought I would say when looking at an Apple Watch. So when you sit back and look at this watch entirely, I love that they have addressed this concept, that you have a dive computer, that you have an altimeter, that you have a compass, you have a GPS, you have an inbuilt system that allows you to set markers and waypoints as you're walking that will allow you to return to where you came from and you won't get lost. It has inbuilt sirens, it has all the technology on top of it. The concept and the execution, I think, was brilliantly done, and from a design point of view, I think it communicates professionalism throughout. And from a user experience, user design, digital experience, I think they've also nailed it when it comes to spot colors, when it comes to the simplicity of the layout that can be infinitely customizable to your liking. The increased size is great, it's going to improve the legibility, and the fact that you can now wear this over dive suits, over your running clothes, out in the wild. But I have some reservations though, and let's talk about them. The battery life. Of course, the battery life. When it comes to talking about digital watches, these smart watches, the one Achilles heel is the length of their battery. As far as I know, you can wear an Apple Watch over the course of a day and have to recharge it in the evening. Now, the beauty with mechanical watches is that as long as it's on your wrist, if it's automatic and has a rotor inside, you can wear it day in, day out and never have to worry about it running out of juice. When it comes to taking the watch off and putting it on a table, it has a power reserve of 48 to 70 hours in most cases. This watch, if I took it off, left it on the table for 3 days, it would still be running, and that's fantastic. With the Apple Watch, though, you have to recharge it every day, every night before you go to bed. The biggest issue about this watch is really its advertising and who it's being aimed at. It's built for expeditions, right? 36 to 60 hours is not the length of an expedition to Nepal, or as you're crossing the Sahara Desert. And for your safety, as well as everyone else's, you don't want to be caught in the middle of nowhere with an Apple Watch running out of juice. The fact now that you don't have a compass, you don't have a map, you don't have GPS, you don't have any way to signal for help. As many of you probably know, cold affects battery life and would severely affect it the colder you get. So the claimed 36 hours of battery life might be whittled down to 20 or less. And bearing in mind also that when you travel to some of the coldest parts of the world, the oil-filled equipment that you use, a lot of these mechanical components will freeze on you. And this is something else that will greatly affect how a digital watch will perform. It might be surprising to know that many expeditionists take mechanical watches out to these parts of the world because of the mechanical tactility that they can get. You can have an inbuilt compass on the bezel. The fact that the oils are silicone-based and are freeze retardant. Even though we're talking about archaic mechanical devices that tell the time, the simple things are better in some situations. And as much as the Apple Watch is filled with tech, its battery life is going to be a severe hindrance when it comes to using these if you are in fact planning on taking them on an expedition. There are many other small nitpicks. The fact that you're probably going to struggle when it comes to using the dial of this watch with a glove on your hand. where simple external tactility is far better. Implementation that I'm surprised we are not seeing when it comes to safety and alarms is a simple strobe. The fact that these screens are being advertised as some of the brightest screens of the Apple Watch ever produced, a simple strobe light on the screen would be so effective in situations if you are stranded in the middle of nowhere in the pitch dark, if you're lost at sea. Overall conclusion around the Apple Watch Ultra, I love the concept, I love the execution, I love the materials they've chosen and all the technology they're implementing. But the biggest downside is that this watch would not survive very long in the conditions it's being directed to.